keep forgetting most of these things that I'm doing on here in this broadcast system. It's like, what button do I press next? Good evening, guys. How are you?
Evening.
Episode 6 of the Wealth Creation Show. We've got a guest on today, Richard Cook, Lettings Director for 5 Properties. How are you, Richard?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's kick off, guys. I mean, we're going to talk about tenants as well, finding tenants, finding the ideal tenants, all the rest of it. So what's been happening in the news so far? Has anybody actually got round to reading this fair deal for tenants? Any takers?
No, I've not had a proper read through yet, but obviously there's talk of it. So
I've just been picking bits here and there, Jim. Haven't had a proper chance to look right through the whole document.
That's a bit like War and Peace, isn't it?
There is a lot to it.
Now, I have a wee question from Eric. So Eric actually messaged me direct, and he actually says, I've got 7 properties just in the process of getting another 2. Looking at a further 2 this year, can you recommend a good software package I could use to manage my business? So I went on to say, do you self-manage or use a letting agent? He self-manages just now. I am retired, but when I get over 10, I will look into getting a managing agent. Okay. So
I was just going to say, Eric, do it now. Yeah.
And that's what I thought. I said best start starting to get it managed now, so you can break an agent into your way of thinking first. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like saying, I tell you what, I'll get an agent when I get 100 properties. But by the time you get 100 properties, you're messing about here, because they're not really sure what they're doing, and they don't understand your processes, so they'll not do it how you do it. I mean, I've been here before.
I'm going to be absolutely honest. The question that you have to think to yourself is, do you want to work in your business, or do you want your business to work for you? And if you're self-managing, you're working in the business. You're replacing your job with another job.
Yeah, I totally agree with what James is saying. And I think that if you're already at the level of 7 properties, Eric, and you're looking to purchase a few more, now is probably the best time then, if you are at that stage of retirement and don't want to waste all your time, speak to an agent. I mean, like ourselves have just updated our software. We used to use CFP Women. We've just updated all that. Costs a lot of money, but obviously we've done that because obviously it facilitates the volume of properties that we manage, and it's been really good. That's the other thing to think about, Eric, is that you're going to have an expense implementing a whole software just to manage your own properties on your own, when you could utilise an agent's software like our own that we've just had upgraded, and it's a brilliant system compared to the previous one.
I'm coming from an IT background. The transition into new software is never easy.
We just done the migration with new system last year, and it was a challenge, but we got there, but it was worth it in the end. To have the new system, it's much more streamlined, it's more efficient, and that's another thing, another a lot of time that Eric's going to have to use to adapt himself to a new system and things. And I don't know. I mean, I would advise speaking to an agent or a managing agent now, especially when you're at that level.
Certainly, I prefer to get the remittance once a month and then deal with all the paperwork once a month, and that's me. But obviously, if you're managing yourself, you're always shuffling paperwork.
Yeah.
Even if it's electronic paperwork.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I manage stuff for you, James, and you know that you just get your statement emailed to you a few days before payment. You've got it there, and that's all you need. Simple.
That's it.
From my point of view, when I do that, I'll show you what I do. Actually, I've brought it up because I thought I've hidden addresses and stuff like that, but it's easy for me. I mean, I get my statements through from you guys anyway, but it's easy for me just to then do that. So I've got the addresses at the beginning of the year. I've hidden them obviously, and then I've got the what it is in terms of number of beds, if it's cash or housing benefit or universal credit, how much the rent is, how much is getting paid, when it's getting paid, the monthly balance that's left over, because sometimes it's a wee bit less than what it is, and it swings and roundabouts. When it's next due, okay, and then when the actual issue date is, that's the date of the lease, and then it tells me the days outstanding. So it's just a wee tracker, a wee ready reckoner on a spreadsheet for me, to be honest. I mean, I've got one there at 4,600. That's because it's vacant now. That's when it's on an insurance claim now.
I was going to say, I know what one that is.
And that's effectively all I'm doing in terms of just for my own benefit. I think it's just my own benefit I do that for. It's just a ready reckoner for me. So you know,
what I would say is
that's how I operate it, just on a spreadsheet.
What I would say is don't underestimate the power of Excel as well, because you can automate a lot of tasks as well.
Yeah. So that's probably my advice to Eric is get something out. But if you were going to get some sort of thing, you know, if you're wanting to automate your accounts, I would probably just get a basic Sage package or Zero or whatever it's called now.
Some of these bank accounts actually offer Sage and Zero and all the other iterations of it.
Yeah. Okay.
To do it on your own, that's the kind of model you'd probably use.
Let's come back to that in a minute, guys. Let's say a couple of hellos to people. Hi, George. How are you? And as well, how are you as well? Good evening. Listen, guys. Remember, it's all about interaction. I'm going to make it easy for you this week. Just put a 5 in the comments rather than look for smiley faces. So if you're there and you want to say hello, put a 5 in the comments. That would be absolutely fantastic. We'll know you here. And we'll see you coming through. Fantastic. Yeah. Oh, funny enough, there's a guy. Tell you what, there's a guy called James Watson here. Is there another guy called James Watson here? What's this about? Is there an alter ego or something we should know about?
No, it's the same guy.
Hi, Deborah. How are you? Listen, Facebook user. If you get a chance, I am actually going to. There's in the top of your post above here on the Facebook. There's a link to StreamYard. Now, I actually deliberately picked that link out, and I'm going to put that in the comments. If you just click on that and give StreamYard permission to show your profile, we're able to tailor things to you. So let me put that in the comments. Hopefully that's coming through to you. If it says streamyard.com/Facebook, just click on that to give StreamYard permission to show us who you are. Or what happens is you just come through as Facebook user. But hey, I tell you what, never mind 5 when you can put 10. Hi, Alan. How are you as well? Okay, guys, and hi, Ewan. How are you? Nice to see you tonight. If you've got any questions as well, guys, please feel free to ask them. This is your golden opportunity to say something and get input, get feedback about what you're thinking. If you've got something to share, some good news, we'd love to hear it. You know, again, at the end of the day, it's all about good news. It's all about sharing that good news. It's all about sharing tips and techniques as well. This is literally just like a virtual meeting. You guys are there, we're there, but instead of all these huge costs and having to get to hotels and stuff like that, we could do all like this. So literally,
sorry, quickly, can we just pick up Alan? Alan's secured his first purchase.
Oh, well done, Alan. That's fantastic.
Oh, that's great. I spoke to Alan last week. We had a chat, so it was nice to speak to you, Alan. So I'm sure we'll touch base again soon. Yeah.
Okay. So for Eric, just going back to that in terms of accountancy software, it literally is your rents can go in to Sage. So your rents go in top line, your overheads go in, and I normally have repairs. I normally have categories. So I have repairs and renewals. I have interest only mortgages. I have council tax. I have utilities, gas and electric. I also have, what else have I got in there? Bank charges, because you're going to have that as well. Traveling expenses, because it is a deduction. You can get a deduction against it. And a few other items as well in there, maybe professional fees and what I need to do something. And that's about it. So by the time you get to the end of the year, if you're self-managing, then it's an easy case that you can actually just hit a button and it tells you all the numbers, and you can put that in your tax return. Now, if you put your tax return in before the end of September, I think it's not changed yet. If you put it in before the end of September to the taxman, he will calculate what tax you're due. If you miss the end of September and you roll it on to the end of January, before the end of January, then you have to calculate your tax return yourself. So there's 2 options here. So after the end of March, which is technically it's the 5th of April, isn't it? The end of the tax year, but 31st of March for most other people. They actually you've got until the 30th of September for the taxman to calculate your return, or you've got you calculate your return before the end of January the following year. If that's right, is that right, guys? Is that,
you can move your reporting date as well, Jim.
Yep.
It isn't set in stone.
Yeah, you can as well. Absolutely. You've got an opportunity to actually move the reporting date, haven't you? Yep. Alan, UP, thanks guys. I appreciate the help. Anytime, Alan. We're wanting you to be extremely successful at this. We're wanting you to grow bigger and get better and increase your wealth. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. That's why we're here. Success stories is everything to us. And that's why we'll help as much as possible to make that happen.
Invoices in the post.
Yeah. Now, news. I tell you what, guys, I've been getting bombarded with emails recently. And James, you know who these people are, but to be honest, I don't really want to say who they are. But I more want to talk about the, you know, what it is I'm actually getting now and how to look out for that. So I've said to most people out there is because I'm getting bombarded. It's something like I've had 7 emails since the 10th of February. I don't even know how I got on their list for some reason, but I've had 10 emails since the 7th of February. 7 emails since the 10th of February. Literally in 4 days, 7 emails I've had. And then I've also had a text as well. Now, we send it once a week and folk go, why are you sending me emails? And I'm like, what? And then they're sending out like 7 and then a text as well. And I even got a phone call from the day as well.
Yeah, it's Facebook harvesting, Jim.
And you're absolutely right. That's probably what it is. So they're capturing your details, aren't they? Well, downloadable.
So what's happened is you've probably seen something that says, "Oh, this is how to make 6 figures in 6 months" or whatever. You maybe click to download a brochure or something, but by doing that, you've gave them permission to pull all your email address, your phone number, everything.
Yeah.
Basically. So just watch out for that on Facebook.
Yeah. And I think I did that because I was curious as to see what this did. Because I'm always curious about, you know, what other people are doing. It's not really anything other than, you know, they put something on. I think, okay, let's have a look at it. Let's call you out and let's have a look. It's good for me to understand what other people are doing and see that. So I'm going to share it with you guys. I'm going to show you what I did in the beginning because I just like to look behind what people are doing. And it's all public information. So this is what you could be doing as well. I've maybe shown it before, but remember, repetition is the mother of all skill. Literally, we could show you a spreadsheet example every single week of no money down, of a fantastic return, and it could be day in, day out, and you'll still not learn enough, or you'll still learn something new every single day and how that's done. But repetition is a mother of all skill to make that happen. So quickly, I'm going to share this with you so you understand where it is. Have we got it here? I'm trying to think, is it this one? No, it's not that one. It's not that one. I'm not sure. Is it this one? Are we up here, guys?
Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah.
So obviously, Gordon's getting a nice advertisement for Diamond Property Investments, but so
that's your Gordy.
Yeah, that's your bonus, Gordy. So Gordy's in there. So the first thing I do straight away, just for my benefit, I see right down at the very bottom there. Can everybody see that? Diamond Estates Property Limited.
Yeah.
So I just copy in that one, and then what I'll do, I'll just click off of that just now and stop sharing. I will then jump on to, if you bear with me, and I'll open a screen here. I will then jump into here. Now, I'll just share the screen before I hit the button. Just as well, I know my way around here. And let you see this. So I'm on Google Chrome. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
If you can see that, guys, give me a wee 5 in the comments just so I know you're with me and I know you can see it. I'm hitting that button. Straight away, here it goes, Diamond Estates Property Limited. It gives me the find and update company information service.gov.uk. I can click on that straight away, and then it goes to the actual limited company. So it tells me the filing history. It tells me things like when they were first incorporated. So they've been incorporated here. If you can see me, see that circling?
Yep.
So they've been incorporated February. Coming up for about 6 years now. The previous accounts in lettings, operated, own lease, different obviously names. That's probably incorporation just changed over. I'll pop into the file history. First thing I do here is their accounts. I go straight for their accounts. See that? Total exemption full accounts up to the February the 28th, 2021. Just hit the PDF, roll it down, and it gives me their financial statements. So I just pop that down. Everybody see that?
Yep.
Yep.
And then I have a wee look. Yep, there he is there, Gordy. His name's there. I'm talking like I know him, but I don't actually know him.
I know about the companies and companies.
Okay, so there I see straight away, there's actually no tangible assets in here. And assets, tangible assets, are actually the investment properties. So there's nothing in there. There's cash in the bank of 322,000, but there's creditors as well of 168,000, net assets of 191,000, and other creditors due beyond 1 year of 44,000. So yes, their earnings has gone up 130,000 in a year. That's fantastic, but I'm still scratching my head as to say, where is their actual, where is their limited company accounts? It says the actual tangible assets. So you can click on that person here. So go to people next, and you can click on Gordon, for example, and he says, see the 10 other appointments. Yep. So you can do the same with these companies. You can click on his consultant company. There's Diamond Estates Property we've just been into. There's Oxy Investors Club Limited, or Onyx, whatever it's called. Gap Property Limited. So you can click on
Gap's investment company.
Yep. We'll look at that in a minute. Onyx. And see the other ones there. Now, they're active. See, all these are active.
Yep.
But you can see these other ones are dissolved. So when it says dissolved, it's out of business. They've got rid of it. They've just dissolved it. So there's the Capital Limited one. There's another dissolved one, another dissolved one, another dissolved one. Okay, so they're all dissolved. So you're saying to me, James, which one?
So Gap is an investment company. So it's Gordy, Abby, Aniko, and Paul.
So this has been incorporated for 7 years. Filing history in here. Total exemption full accounts. And let's, as if by magic. This is where I say pin your colours to the mast and put your money where your mouth is. Look behind this before you do anything. So there you go. They've got 400,000 in tangible assets, which effectively could just be 4 houses, to be honest. So not a huge amount. And they've probably bought a lot. They've maybe bought a few since, in this coming year. Because remember, that's only up to January 2021. So you've got another year's worth of accounts to go in. Debtors 154,000. Cash at bank 73,000. Creditors. So a lot of this is borrowed. Net liabilities. And then you've got total current assets less current liabilities 283,000. Creditors amount fallen due 305,000. But the actual net worth of the company is minus 22,000. Which tells me this is all borrowed and no money down deals to a degree. Would I be right in saying that, James?
Yeah, there is an element of that. There's another thing you can also do in this site as well, though, Jim. You can also see which properties have a first charge. So that'll give you an idea.
Yeah, that's as well. So there's the registration charges there.
Yep.
See that? So you can click on one of them and you see registration charges. And then you can find who's got the registration charges and what the property is they've got a registration charge over. So what do you
looks at person's entitled?
Yeah, so you think that's an investor?
That's an investor.
Yeah. So an investor's obviously invested in them and done that. So they're basically using other people's money to leverage their position.
Absolutely. Now, when you go back onto Companies House Beta, if you search for Touchstone Education, because that is their main business.
Yeah, which is why is it no here then? Why is he not a director at it then?
Because Gordy's not a director. He works as an employee in that company. But if you scroll further down, you find Paul Smith.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Right, click on him.
Mm-hmm.
See how many companies he's involved in or has been involved in.
There's
Wealth Education.
Do you think it's Wealth Education? Do you think it's that one?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, let's go for that one. Let's go for convention statement. Let's go for 2020. Let's pop down to that and see where we are there.
You've got very sharp accounting practices as well, Jim.
But then the balance sheet's only looking at minus £395.
Yeah, I think they're creative accountants, as you could say.
Yeah,
so they spend the money basically.
Yeah, so Aye, okay. So what we're saying, what are we saying? You know, look behind somebody to see if they've got what they're actually saying they've got.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, that's what
due diligence, and we all should do it. You know, we all need to.
That's really what we're doing, isn't it? We're actually showing people how to look behind what we call it in legal terms. I remember doing company law when I was doing my accountancy, and it's called lifting the veil. So, so that's what a court would do if any impropriety went on wrong with a company, and they would actually lift the veil, and the company directors would be personally liable if they did something wrong. So what we're doing is we're just looking into the company in order to establish, because you get a lot of people going on about what they've got and how wealthy they are and how successful they are and everything they've got coming out of their ears. And then the next minute you look at their company and it's minus £395. And it's kind of, and you're looking at their net assets and you're thinking, you've not got that many. Because effectively 400,000 is probably, I mean, even at 50 grand each, what, 8 properties?
8 properties, yeah.
Yeah. 8 properties. That's no, I wouldn't be blown about that.
They've got very sharp accounting practices.
I'm in the process of selling 8 companies or buying 8 companies to my limited company, and that's just a casual thing.
Yeah. I mean, they've got a couple of high performance cars and stuff, and what they do is they put it through a lease scheme through an LLP, and effectively they then lend money to the LLP to pay for the leasing. So they're basically driving a free car, if you will.
Is that the guys running about in all these Lotus Elites and everything like that?
No, this boy drives it's one of these quad turbo or twin turbo V8 Mercedes, and she's got one of these top of the range Land Rover hacks.
Okay, I see a lot of 5s coming through, so thanks very much, guys, for interacting. Evening, gents. If you get a chance, Facebook user for Evening, gents, just click on the post above there. You'll see a StreamYard link, and just give StreamYard the capability to actually see who you are. I'd love to see who you are, interact, know who people are. Incidentally, just quickly before we come on to the tenant find and talk all about it, I went to the garage at the weekend, and I was just looking at, I tell you what, I saw a Ceed, a Kia Ceed.
That's what I've got.
I tell you what, flipping egg. They are classic cars, and when you look at the price of them, I looked at the actual leasing value, £225 a month for 12,000 miles a year for 3 years. That's a no-brainer to me, and £225 down. So £225 for instant tax deduction. So I've put one on order, but it's going to be 20 weeks.
You know the best part, though, Jim? You also get 7 years. You also get 7 years transferable warranty. And that's why I kept my Kia.
And I thought it was quite lucky because I thought it was quite unusual. I'll use the term unusual because I walked in to see him, and he was like trying to do the sales thing with me. And I went, "See that one? How much is that?" And he went, "Oh, it's that, and that." I says, "I'll just have that one then." And he went, "What?" And I went, and he was going on, "So what do you do?" And I went, "Oh, I'm a property investor, estate agent. I've been doing it for 30 years." And the next minute he was taking notice and everything like that. So if you're watching our wealth creation show, James, well done. Give us a shout out. Put a wee comment. Put a 6 in the comments if you're watching, James. So I know you're here. But he said to me, "So what? Obviously, because he had heard, he'd obviously seen what I was doing." He says, "So what are you driving now?" And I think you thought I was going to say a Lotus or a Ferrari. I went, "I didn't own anything, son. I've just got a DS3 company car and I lease it, and that's it. I'm not interested in buying anything. It's a wasted asset." And he was like, "What are you talking about?" And I went, "Well, it just depreciates every single month as your money disappears." And why would I buy something at 17? Because it was 17 grand to buy it. Why would I buy something at 17 grand if I could lease it at £225 a month? I can go and put a deposit. You know what's coming on a house which will generate the £225 a month. And I'll own the house as well at the same time. So I'll have the car and the house. And in 10 to 15 years, I'll have made double my money, if not triple my money on the house.
And handed back several cars when the balloon payment's due as well.
That's what you do, though. You just hand it back and get a new one. And you've got no servicing costs at all because apparently they say, well, we pay that in the price as well. And we give you a road tax as well. And it's like, wait, this is a no-brainer. I was almost tempted to say, just give me 2. Because I felt like getting like a 2-for-1. I felt like I was getting a really good deal, and I thought maybe I should get another one.
And the thing is, they've all got the same tech spec as Audis now. You know, they've all got the cruise control and the lane assist and all that malarkey.
Yeah, so really good deal. The Kia Ceed. And I'm not getting a kickback or anything.
I was going to say plugging that, Jim.
But I tell you what, I've got a Hyundai and it was 350 quid a month. So when you look at £100 a month of difference, that's 1,200 quid in my hand for the next 3 years than what I would have got with a Hyundai. So that's 3,600. That's pretty good as far as I'm concerned.
And just on that story, Jim, because there's a chip shortage, that's why you're having to wait so long for your vehicle to arrive. But second-hand car prices went through the roof.
Yeah.
So I could go out and make about £3,000 profit on the car that I've got, and it's quite an old car.
That's mental, eh? Yeah, absolutely mental. Let's go on to the training. Filling a property. Right, we'll just let you, Richard. So I've got 3 categories, right? Okay, so I call what I'm saying here. With filling a property, I'll tell you what I'm looking at here. I call it. If you give me 2 seconds just to go into detail here, I have filling a property. And I use the term arc. So secure your tenant arc. So like the arc, like Noah's Ark, you've got you're carrying the tenant. And the 3 categories I've got in arc is the address, the referencing, and the charge. And by I mean address, I mean advertise really. So you're advertising. So there's 3 categories. Is there anything else we need to do before we, is it really just referencing, advertising, and knowing what to charge? Or is there anything else to do that, guys?
And the whole process of finding a tenant, obviously, these are the main things. Obviously, the referencing and obviously, like you say, the advertising things are important. I feel like there's, when you do it day in, day out, it becomes second nature. But there's so many wee things that you do, and it's not until you have people approach you that have had bad experiences and things when it comes to tenant selection, and they tell you that they've been using X, Y, or Z, obviously, company. And they've not done this and they've not done that, and you think, God, that's textbook, simple stuff. Even when it comes down to, I think you could get tenants and reference them, and they could be brilliant on paper. But I'm a big believer in meeting people and getting to know them and getting a feel for who they are. And, do you know what I mean? At the end of the day,
can we talk then about where we would advertise first? I mean, where is the typical places you'd advertise for a tenant if you were a self-managed landlord?
Well, can I firstly say what not to do? As I see a lot of people, obviously, Gumtree and things it's a risky business, especially self-managed landlords that are using agents. I see a lot of them putting stuff on Gumtree or Facebook or whatever, and that to me, I think, is just, it opens up a can of worms because you've got every man and their dog that could apply. They aren't filtered through at all with any pre-qualifying questions or anything. You've just got this person messaging you, and you're going to let them come and see your property, and I think that's really dangerous.
By doing that, Richard, what you're doing is you're actually spending a lot of time having to filter a lot of people out. So for that cheap option of actually trying to get that tenant through that medium, which is free, in essence, it really doesn't end up free because it costs you in time. And
a lot more in
time is your biggest commodity ever. I keep saying to people, you'll never get back time. Once it's gone, I mean, literally that second it just passed will never reappear again. And your life, when you get to my age, your life literally starts to pass before your eyes. But it's true. When you've got no time or you value your time, then it isn't that important. And I often think going to places like Gumtree and going to places like Facebook is you are spending a huge amount of time having to filter out effectively dross.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mentioned Facebook there, and it's not to exclude, obviously, social media platforms because we use them. But as soon as if we use them to put property out there, when people contact us, we then put them through the pre-qualifying, obviously, questions, and then we reference them. Do you know what I mean? So they go through that whole process. We just use the platforms, obviously, attract attention and things, but we've got a system behind that. Whereas if you're just a private landlord putting stuff on Gumtree or Facebook, you didn't really have that in place behind. And it can become time consuming because you'll have a lot of time wasters and a lot of people that aren't suitable or aren't the tenants that you want. And
so you touched on Facebook ads.
Yeah.
So, you know, Facebook, what would you be doing with that as a self-managed landlord? How would you use that to promote yourself or promote your property? What would you do?
What would add? Well, obviously, sorry, on you go, James. You're a second.
I was going to say, when it comes to Facebook Marketplace or whatever, or Gumtree, a little exercise for the listeners tonight is maybe go into these sites and have a look to see who are the really good landlords that will go through all those steps, because you'll notice they'll leave the EPC data, they'll leave the landlord registration number and stuff like that. But you'll also notice that there's a whole load of people that are maybe not quite so forthcoming with their landlord registration number, and just like that, we have to look out for tenants. Tenants also have to look out for landlords.
Yeah, I mean, by law, all advertisement for lettings has to show the landlord's registration number.
Yeah.
So I mean, whether that's on social media or whether it's on the property portals or anywhere, you have to display it. And obviously, us as agents have to display our letting agent number as well.
Mm-hmm. But most people don't do that, do they?
There's a lot that you would, I mean, more than you would expect. Don't follow the guidelines.
So when you put a Facebook ad on, you have to put your letting agent number, you have to put the property you're actually letting, you have to put the rental charge you're charging, you have to do all these things. Would you suggest to a self-managed landlord now that they actually do video walkthroughs for their properties?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's going to attract the most attention. We do our pre-launches and things. We pre-launch properties by video, and we also do the walkthrough once the property is live and things as well. But video is the way to catch attention. Live videos.
It is the way to go because it gives more traction to the audience, because you get rewarded from Facebook for doing a live video. Therefore, it pushes you out more organically, and a larger audience begin to see. But it's also to engage as well, to get people to say, I tell you what, just give me a share or give me a like or make a comment on what you think is the best thing for this property, and it'll push you out even further.
It's velocity marketing to try and beat the algorithms of these social networks, and that's the way you want to do it. You just a comment, a share, a like, whatever.
Yeah. We'll take a couple of comments in here. There's Alan. Oops, I just paid cash for a Volvo. Alan, you could have had another house.
You could have had
oh dear, come on. And then he actually says, like mistake. Jimmy actually says small management fee will save landlords and investors thousands in the long run. I honestly, genuinely, I can't remember if this was just a dream. I was trying to tell somebody for less than the price of a cup of coffee every day, you could actually get your property managed. And I can't remember if that was actually talking to somebody in real life, or it was maybe just a dream.
Do you know? It's far less than the cost of a price of cup of coffee every day. The price of coffee the other day, and I thought, God, it's about half the price of coffee nowadays. If you're going to Starbucks or Costa, anyway, because they are expensive.
For me, it's for about £1.08 per property.
Aye, I mean, that's a no-brainer. Especially when you've got everything involved, like obviously like your statements.
How much does it work out for you, James? About how much?
£1.08 per day.
Wow. So £1.08 per day for you?
No, they're not putting the fee up.
might have to review your management fee.
I know, Wait a minute, that's half of what we normally.
Well, I could always self-manage.
No. But there you go. There's a prime example, and I mean,
look at that. There's a classic example there. So one property, £31 a month, you're paying in a management fee. Effectively, the way that's working. So you're effectively, all you need is one phone call, which takes you out your way for 1 hour, and you've effectively lost that 31 quid in your time. And then if it even you know what it's like if you have to travel to a property, sort something out, travel back, phone a contractor, get them out, do the ins and betweens. Is that kind of what goes on in the background? I mean, what happened the other night, Richard, with 1C Mill Street that I've got? What happened the other night? I got a phone call, right? I'll tell you the first instance. I got a phone call from the property management company that runs the factor. They phoned me at 8 o'clock at night and said, we've got a leak coming for your property, the downstairs property. And I went, I've got a management company and you've got their details. You should be phoning them. And he said, oh, right, okay. And I'll give you their number. So I gave them the number and they obviously phoned you. So what happened next?
Well, they got Charlotte, but Charlotte picked that up. Charlotte had to go on the phone then to the tenant that was in there. She couldn't get a hold of the tenant. The management company obviously were in touch with the downstairs neighbour where the water was running into. She had to get the emergency contractor out. She was continuing trying to get a hold of the tenant, but obviously if we couldn't get a hold of them, we were going to need to give them key access, which would mean us going out there to let them in. Luckily, we caught the tenant. They were out shopping. And we got them back in time to let the contractor in. Turned out their washing machine hose had come off and whatever, but and then we're still dealing with it to this day. We were dealing with it this morning because we're obviously sorting out insurance between the managing factor company and obviously the downstairs neighbour and things as well. So that was
last. This is what happened. I got a letter 2 days later from the downstairs person saying I'm due to redecorate their kitchen because I've flooded it. And I'm like, but that's my insurer that deals with that. So what did I do? I took a photograph of it and I sent it to you.
Yeah, I actually read that today, and it says on it.
Because you're my managing agent.
Yeah, it wasn't just a decoration. It was on it. It was also, I think she mentioned something about plumbing works, and I'm like, but our plumber went out and fixed the problem. Obviously, that's at a cost to us.
What happened? What's happened so far then? So how much time do you think that's taken so far to between man hours and woman hours, between you and Charlotte and everybody else involved? How much hours do you think that's taken?
Oh, between the night that happened, the day after, I done some correspondence over the weekend, and then I've been dealing with the day. Because you're talking about could be 5-6 hours.
There you go.
So
there's a perfect example of why you have a letting agent and why you don't self-manage. Because I'll tell you what,
a couple of hours dealing with it happened.
I mean, we discussed last week, James, what I do every year, how much I make every year, effectively. So when you think about it and divide that by the number of hours, 6 hours to me is a hell of a lot more than that. And effectively, for me, I'm literally it's the price of a cup of coffee every day.
Yeah, and we're still waiting on the management company coming back to us to sort out this scenario with the insurance.
So it won't just be 6 hours. It'll be probably more than that with the back and forward and the hassle. And you know what? The only input I've had is I told the guy to phone my property management company, and then I got a letter in and I sent it on to my property management company to deal with. That's the end of it. Hallelujah. I am a convert straight away.
And it's spanned out over the last 4 or 5 days, and that's including the weekend because I was dealing with stuff at the weekend to do it.
And I know landlords that self-manage at the moment, and they've got a reasonable sized portfolio, but they've actually got themselves so accustomed to tenants phoning now, they actually get phone anxiety when it goes beyond 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Because it's somebody phoning at 11:30 to say, oh, my heating's not working or whatever, and they gave themselves phone anxiety. We haven't go through that whole process.
I know what that's like because I had a certain ringtone. I used to have the Century 21 theme tune ringtone on because I used to be a real estate agent with them. And I used to have the ringtone on my phone, and every time it rang, it actually gave me that anxiety because I was self-managing all my properties up to the point that before I actually created the Five Properties Lettings division.
Properties maintenance,
so I was self-managing about 30 or 40 properties still myself and until that point. So I know straight away how people would feel, and that's why I keep saying all the time the difficulty of that. Anyway, let's talk about the next. What about advertising? What about?
I'm just going to say we'll recap on advertising. I think.
Do you think newspaper ads is another way to go? I mean, or is that dead in the water? The newspaper ads. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, does anybody use it still? Does anybody out there still use newspaper ads? Anybody?
No, I mean, it's done its time. I think. I mean, Jim, when I first started out with you and I, we used to put the newspaper ads still in the local paper, and it worked at that time for a few years, and then obviously progressively it's just kind of faded out. I mean, it's not a medium that's going to attract a lot of attention. It is a lot of social media platforms or the portals and things as well.
So what about website ads then? So what portals can you actually advertise on yourself? Because you can't go direct to Rightmove unless you've got an agent, or you go through a subsidiary company.
Yeah, you can go through something like OpenRent.
Yeah,
but they're kind of like the Ryanair of lettings, I suppose. It's all the bolt-on services that cost extra money. So things like tenant registration, 15 quid, listing it, 75 quid, EPC, right? You have to supply an EPC. That's another cost, and it's very much the Ryanair of lettings.
And then again, we come what I'm just about to collate here. Every time you say that, I'm thinking that's more time, that's more time, that's more time. So effectively, you're having probably what a letting agent would charge you, but then your time involved in having to do it all and put it on and get it advertised and get people phoning you up, you're losing it again. So so advertising on websites yourself and doing self-managed isn't probably the way to go, but it's a great way for an estate agent to go because it's what they do day in, day out.
We're across a lot of the major platforms, Rightmove, Zoopla, S1 Homes, Prime Location. They're all the main players that we're on. Yeah,
I tell you, Jimmy hits the nail on the head when he says this, and I'll show you. And I'm laughing at it. You can source and secure another property in 6 hours, and he's absolutely right.
He's right.
And I did. I actually bought one. I don't know if I told you guys, but I bought one just the other now, 70 grand. Okay, that was a home report value, 70 grand. And what's it going to rent for, Richard?
The one that we were talking about the other night.
Yep, in Methil Hill.
Yeah, I'm going to get 550, 600.
550, 600 for 70 grand. That's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a really good return. And effectively, Jimmy's absolutely right about it. You know, you could source another property in that time if that's what you're doing constantly all the time. You could even source a property to flip to someone else and make a couple of £1,000 out of that. So you could do anything. There's opportunities there all around you to utilise your time more effectively in terms of doing that. So what about lettings boards? You know what I mean? Like universities and colleges.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this before between the team and things as well. Especially like areas like the uni up at St Andrews, utilising their kind of notice board and things for. I mean, it would help if you're self-managing and you do student lets and things. That they're a prime opportunity to pick up students.
HMOs with grandfather rights and that sort of stuff. St Andrews, there's no HMOs, new HMOs in St Andrews.
No, there's not any new ones yet. I know that.
Aye.
But, universities and colleges do have departments that will actually deal with that. So they'd actually put you on the what you call your golden list if you're approved by them. So it's another source to actually advertise and get a line of tenants for what you want.
What they also do is they do like a newsletter thing, and they've got a bit in it, and they email it out to all prospective tenants or returning students and returning students about tenancies that are going to be available or properties that are available in the area. And obviously give the information for the landlord or whatever they're dealing with. So they could be quite, they could give quite good results.
So just out there, if anybody in the audience, you know, if you want to comment on who you think you could advertise through, just any suggestions you've got yourself, please feel free to do that. If you're still with us, give us a 5 in the comments. I was going to say a 6 or a 7 or an 8, but we'll do a 5 again.
There's another way as well. If you know your local market, you can obviously put on those little ads inside the shop. You know, because there's always relatives.
Shop windows.
Yeah, live closer to relatives and stuff. So you know, you might find that a particular property with older parents, for example, in order to get that local connection, they might want to live just a couple of doors along because they're going to need that assistance. You know, from day to day.
I can see a few 5s coming through. Thanks, guys, for that. Really appreciate it coming back to us with that. Local authority referrals. Did you know the local authority has a golden list?
Yeah, they do.
That's another way to get it. So get in touch with your private landlord registration, and they should be able to refer you back to the local authority division, the empty homes initiatives and stuff like that to do that. So universities and college. And last but not least for me, I think we've exhausted it. We'll just go down and use a letting agent. That's really
there is another one.
Right, for it.
There's a leasing thing you can do with some local authorities and some housing associations where you can lease back the property to them, and they will take it on, kind of like an FRI for commercial purposes.
Yeah, so I did that for 12 years, private sector leasing. So I helped set it up with Fife Council in the beginning. Yeah. So I was on the board, or the steering group that actually set up the private sector leasing in the beginning, and it was probably back in the early 2000s. And they ran it for quite a while, and then what happened is the government changed the funding. So then they had to run it down and just actually hand all the properties back. So, but I effectively had a number of properties actually rented.
You had a few up in Cooper and things, Jim, and I
had no involvement in them at all, and it was 12 years of constant rent.
Worked really well.
Because they find the tenant, they take the rents, they obviously send you the remittance each month. Any repairs, they deal with them.
Yeah,
it's a no-brainer.
So once you've got that, Richard, let's talk about how much do you charge? How much do you know how much to charge?
In terms of initial fees or as a management fee?
No, I mean, just in terms of what you would charge for your rent.
All right, in terms of rental values. Well, it depends what the property is and where it is.
Yeah. Now, what I would be doing, this is probably what I'd be doing. I would nip on to possibly. Do you think nip on to Rightmove?
Yeah, Rightmove's probably your best. Rightmove or Zoopla is probably your best for finding comparable properties to give you an idea of what the market's like in individual areas. Obviously, areas in the areas in Fife differ so much.
Classic example. Let's look at let's look at Leven. Leven's usually a popular choice. The rent and include let agreeds, because obviously that gives you the exact amount. Because you'll not get many. So there's 13 in Leven. So they're Taylor Street, 460 for a one bedroom, a two bedroom actually, ground floor flat. That looks familiar. That's mine.
Just going to say, do you recognise that, Jim? Just let that off.
You've got Wellesley Road. You've got 475 for a two bedroom.
I just put that one on.
Fernie and Leven, 425. That's let agreed. You've got Centenary Court, 550 for a two-bedroom terraced house.
Yeah.
You've got Ocean, you've got 475. So there's lots of different ones you can go through. You can even change it to Cooper if you want. Now, you can do this for everyone right across the country when you think about it. There you've got Arthur Place in Cooper, 645. If you want to look at what you get for that, you can look in, you can click on, and you can see more details. Now, we put videos on ours, don't we?
Needle Street's a good one if you go up.
And Needle Street in here?
That one there, yeah. Yeah, it's just that's only it's only a wee bungalow, but it's such a nice property. The back garden's amazing.
Yeah.
What I would say is I tend to favour Rightmove.
Oh, there's some guy showing us around. Do you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
Now this is a one bedroom.
Who's that guy?
I tend to use
Rightmove. Do you know what as well? Sorry, James. See these videos that we do, and I think I love because they're quite interactive, and you go through the nitty gritty of the property, like in here and in the cupboard and out the back, and it's quite interactive. And I think it's really good for people to get an idea of what a property is really like, and feedback for the person that's walking it around. It's like a personalised tour, really. That's what it is.
It is really, yeah. So that's how much you can get, and you can look on places like Zoopla as well, Open Rent as well, but Open Rent actually goes on to there. The other one is Letting Web.
Yeah, Lettings Web. Yeah. I will say about property values, the rental values. Generally, you could get an idea of what a property is worth depending on what's let in the area recently and its similarities to the properties you've got. But a lot of factors do kind of change the rental value. Whether it's, if you've got to be a bit higher end finish, if fixtures and fittings are quite nice, if you've got a lot of off street parking and an additional garage, and do you know what I mean? There's all different things that could contribute to it. But
you can make yourself an easy life as well. You can just ask a local agent.
Yeah, I mean, you could phone me and I'll do it for you.
So the next one is once you've advertised, once you know the rent to charge, you've got the referencing. How do we go about doing the referencing then?
Yeah, I mean, well, references changed quite a lot in the last couple of years, obviously, with the whole pre-qualifying system that's been brought in. We were kind of ahead of the game and started doing it quite early. That's really allowed us to streamline the whole process in terms of eliminating all the people from viewing that aren't suitable or aren't fitting the criteria for the property. We've got that from the outset. I mean, we've always pre-qualified people to a certain extent, but we've kind of we've amped it up a bit, and then obviously we get to get a bigger picture of them before.
But how would a self-managed landlord do this? What would he do?
Well, they would have to pick up the phone or email the person and go through all these questions with them before they even come out to view.
Where would they get a template for a checklist to reference tenants?
Well,
would you be able to provide that?
I would be able to provide them one. Yeah, you'll not get one on Google.
So when you get a chance, could you do a downloadable template maybe and just actually put that in the comments on all the channels?
I'll do that. Yeah.
You can also get it off the Scottish some of the associations.
So Scottish Association of Landlords. SAL will have a version of it, but I think I've actually seen SALs, but
it costs.
yeah, it does. You'd have to pay for the download or obviously be a member.
So a template for referencing could be downloaded. It could be getting off a local agent. I've got another one for referencing, is actually go and visit the person's property if they're local.
Yeah.
I used to do this every single time. So when I was taking somebody round, if I had doubts about them and I've something wee niggly, you know how you just get that sixth sense. Now this is important for everybody out there to understand. You know how you have a sixth sense? Well, it's true, you do. You have that wee thing. It just it's the back of your mind goes, there's something just no right here. Trust your gut. It's absolutely spot on. It's bang on. Usually it's everything. Now, I've fought against it for years and years and years and taken it at face value and go, oh, this person's all right. You know, it ticks all the boxes because I'm quite logical and I've never been emotionally led, and I've been a logic things to death. And it's been, and I've tested it, and every single time I've logicked everything, it's turned out that I've been wrong. My first instinct was actually right in the first place. So your sixth sense is right. And I've caught a lot of people out like this where they've gone, oh, I'll look after my house and I'll be able to take it and I'll be able to do this and that. And all right, okay, where do you stay? Oh, I'm just round the corner. And then what I would do is I would get all that information. I go, yeah, that's great, thanks, and all the rest of it. And then when I was in the neighbourhood, maybe in the next couple of days, I'd just give them a quick ring and say, I'm in the neighbourhood. I'm just passing yours. Can I pop in and see you for a minute and have a wee chat about your possible tenancy? They go, yeah, okay then. And then I'd pop into the door and I go, see when I'm here, do you mind if I have a wee quick look round and see how the you know, your landlord looks after your property? And then it gives you an idea, because normally they have a go at the landlord, whether it's the council or whether it's the existing landlord, and say, oh, it's all their fault. And the next minute you realise that they're drying all their clothes on the radiators. They're closing all the windows. The whole house is humid as a result of them not airing the place. Sometimes they've not even got the heating on at all. You look at the carpets and there's stains in the carpets where they've dropped something in the carpet and actually they've just no bothered to clean it up.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really good one for a self-managed landlord to actually do the drop of a hat visit. And most people will just go, yeah, that's fine. Obviously, you're coming round to talk about my tenancy, my possible tenancy. I'm happy to let you in. And then that's a golden opportunity to see how they really live the now, because that's exactly how they'll treat your house.
Yeah.
Well, you know about my scare story for last week when I went to see that tenant's property. And it was a no from me.
Yeah. And that makes your decision as well. But yeah, gut instincts is always follow them, I think. Especially when you're doing a reference.
The referencing and then what about the credit checks? Where would you get credit checks done? Would you be able
to we use a company called HomeLet to do credit checks. Obviously, would
man on the street be able to do that?
Well, no, you're probably better. You could do it through Experian, or you could also do it through is it Equifax that do it and things like that. I mean, there's lots of different companies.
There's Check My File as well.
Yeah,
they do a tenancy element as well, but it costs money.
It does.
It'll cost us more than it'll cost you guys to do a single search.
I mean, obviously, your referencing fees incorporated in what we would do for you, but we do a lot more than just process a referencing form. Do you know what I mean?
Then, as well, when you think about it, we've got a huge database of people that are commonly problematic. Plus, we've got a huge experience. It's a letting agent as well, drawing their experience as well of the fact that they know when something's not right. Whereas if you've not got that seasoned experience, you don't pick up on it. You don't hone in.
Like you said there, Jim. I mean, I remember in the early years, sometimes I had went against my gut instinct or my gut feeling and give somebody the benefit of the doubt and got my fingers burnt for it. So I didn't do that at all now. Because I'm quite like, right, okay, this doesn't feel right or this isn't right, and move on to somebody else. You're better to find the right person in the first instance rather than just fill the property and have all these issues further down the line.
So when you talk about things like the cost, I mean, typically, for putting a tenant in, it's round about $350 plus VAT or something like that.
Yeah.
Referencing £85. Deposit lodging.
Deposit lodging 25. Yeah.
So when you work out that and you work out all the hassle factor of having to do it all yourself, all the contact and the reference and the tenants and the time and everything like that, you've kind of lost that if you spend 2 or 3 hours on it.
Yeah, a couple of hours on that's that money.
I'll go back to what Jimmy said. Basically, it's like, you could have secured another property in that 6 hours that you've spent.
And I'll tell you as well, the deposit lodging charge of £25 is, I mean, depending on what the process is at the end, how detailed or lengthy it is, but for the amount of work that gets put in with the deposit scheme, in some instances, 25 doesn't really cover it.
Yeah, I don't think it does actually, but it's a token gesture to go towards admin costs.
Just because we're lodging it with our account and we deal with it.
And every letting agent actually charges all these costs anyway. So you know you're picking you're obviously picking the best one, and hopefully you've demonstrated that, Richard. I would say clearly. I mean, you know, that's why I'm happy to keep continuing to use it. I mean, it's not the fact I own the company.
Yeah, no, I think as well. So it's like I think you draw for experience. You draw a lot for experience, and obviously I've been doing this for about 12 years this year. So I mean, it's like there's a lot of agents out there that maybe didn't have the experience or didn't have the knowledge or the knowledge passed down. I mean, obviously we've learned a lot throughout the years and things and training, and do a lot of agents do that?
Mm-hmm. Continual training with people.
Well, definitely. Or you're never going to be in the loop.
CPD.
So, what's your, you know, James? I mean, we've kind of been through everything now. So we've gone through how to advertise the property. We've gone through how to reference tenants. We've gone in the process. We've gone through what charges you should be charging for the rental value and how to find that. Is there anything else finally you would say to someone out there, just as a parting, you know, that's us finished, and this is the best thing, the one thing I would do?
I would certainly say definitely get an agent to do it for you, because it is a big headache. There's a lot of running around, and to be fair, we're busy enough as it is already without adding more to it. And the more you add, the more corners you're likely to cut.
Yeah.
And you could end up with that nightmare tenant that has a cannabis factory inside your house.
Yeah.
Effectively, that's the sort of thing. I mean, what about yourself, Richard? I mean, what would the self-managed landlord out there?
Yeah, I mean, if you're adamant on self-managing, then there is a lot of aspects that you need to obviously take into consideration. I would recommend, especially if you're building a big portfolio or a bigger portfolio, to use an agent. And if anybody that's listening or anybody watching the rerun wants to speak to me and pick my brain and ask any questions, then please do so.
Please feel free to message it. I mean, for me personally, I've been through both processes. I remember self-managing for the first 30 or 40 properties I had. I know what it was like. I basically became a social worker to everybody, all my tenants. It was really difficult. I mean, I'm a person that can't say no. I find it really difficult, and when people are in need and they need help, and I feel obliged to do it regardless of what time of day it is. I've told the story before how I was sitting there on Christmas Day at 10 o'clock because the radiator fell off the wall because one of the guys had actually sat on it, and then they turned round once I'd actually switched it off, drained down the system, and said, "How's your Christmas going so far?" Hello. What do you think? I'm here on Christmas morning at 10 o'clock. Well, I should be with my family because I used that on the radiator. And that's only one instance, but I got that time and time again over the years, and it really did get to that anxiety thing, as you talk about, James, and the fact that when your phone rings, you think, "Oh no, it's." And my suggestion as well is actually get a separate phone for if you're self-managing. Get a separate phone for people to ring. Don't use your personal phone. I know you think it's going to save you money, but you're probably just better getting a pay-as-you-go phone. And actually,
SIM card.
Yeah, SIM card. That's my best advice to you out there, because it keeps it separate, and you don't get that anxiety when your own phone rings. Then, and make sure you just don't hand it now.
You can also claim it back through costs as well.
Yeah, exactly. Another tax deduction. And that's it, guys. Thanks very much for coming on. Really appreciate your time. More than welcome. Everybody out there as well, thanks very much for tuning in. Thanks very much for taking part and getting involved in this as well. And until next time, guys, from the Wealth Creation Show, we'll see you next week at 6:30. Bye-bye for now. Guys.